Nick Saban going to the NFL can't be any crazier than Bill Belichick coaching UNC and having a 25-year-old girlfriend. Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Nick DiMartino. That's Ben Kruse. This is another edition of Moving the Goalpost. You can follow this podcast across social media at MTGPETB. You can follow the Empty the Bench Network across social media at ETB Network. You can follow me on Twitter at Nick DMart. You can follow Ben at Ben Kruse144. You can watch all Empty the Bench shows on YouTube.com/ETB Network. And you can listen to Moving the Goalpost wherever you get your podcasts. And make sure to like and subscribe. And this show is presented by Playback. Stay tuned for later in the show to find out more. All right. So we do have a bit to get to. One of them is just this crazy story of a shooting at, is it the NFL headquarters? Because I know the NFL has a whole bunch. All of these leagues have a whole bunch of offices. This was one in Manhattan. I think it was on 51st Street, which is
Fifth Avenue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you said 8th Avenue.
I think it's Fifth.
Fifth Avenue. Yeah, so it's actually not far at all from where I work. This guy, this guy, like walking, like literally walking distance. This guy is, he seemed to be targeting the NFL, but he went up like the wrong elevator or something like that. It seems a little. I mean, the details seem to be a little bit murky as of now, like in all of these cases. Though it is pretty clear. It is pretty clear to me what his motive was, and he was targeting the NFL because he personally suffered from CTE or brain. Well, we don't really know that yet, but like brain injuries from his time playing football. I think it's a little weird that he's targeting the NFL. It's not like he played in the NFL that. Anything like, I don't know. It would be a little. I don't really get that part of it. But I mean, I guess people who are willing to just shoot people aren't really the most rational. And it's just another one of those really, I guess you would say, bizarre. It's a story. There seems to be a lot of bizarre sort of details to it. If you don't know all the details, it looked like he was walking around with a long, with a huge gun that everybody can see. It's just another really awful story that we just really kind of had to lead off with.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously are, in today's society, it's unfortunately been something in which we've, feel like that, with the gun laws specifically in America, it's the Second Amendment, rights to bear arms. So technically speaking, people, with a certain licensing and stuff like that are eligible per se, but unfortunately it's ridiculous in terms of the amount of type of shootings that we're just getting constantly, and it's sickening. I mean, I saw the picture of the gunman on social media, just literally having I think it's like an A5 assault rifle or whatever, just with them, just walking around in Midtown Manhattan. I mean, it's just, I don't even know where he got it specifically from. Apparently, there's a lot of police that are trying to figure out in terms of, where they got this specifically from. I mean, because in New York City, when you talk about New York City, they have some of the strictest, in terms of, you pretty much have security. I mean, almost every single turn.
Every building.
Yeah, every building, especially the NFL, out of all places. So
every office building in the city has the best security.
Yeah,
it's like they're like guarding it. They're like guarding the White House. So I'm not exactly sure how he made it into the building and was able to get on an elevator with, how was he even able to get into the wrong elevator with a huge gun like that? It seems a little strange. I'm pretty sure
sketchy. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure most of these buildings probably have metal detectors, so you probably can't walk in with any weapon.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about the security that's outside typically of the buildings. I mean, they have cameras probably inside, left and right, no matter what type of building you're going through. So I just don't know if maybe he was able to go in and somebody wasn't at the front, specifically trying to figure out, when he was going. And even if he did get lost, it's like, it's crazy enough that the fact that he was able to get inside of that overall building with a weapon like that is just, it's unfathomable, to be honest.
Yeah, and he somehow went up the wrong. Yeah, like I said, he went up the wrong elevator bank. I mean, honestly, I didn't even know the NFL even had like any sort of building, any sort of location in the city. Even like I didn't even like even just knowing that had to have taken a whole lot of research. Yeah, and like I said, I think the details just seem a bit strange. I don't know where he got the gun or if he got the gun legally or not. None of us really know. Uh, or maybe there is information on that, but I haven't really seen it. Um, yeah, it's just a really sort of bizarre sort of story, I guess, is how I would put it. And a couple of people were killed. I guess it could have been a lot worse. So yeah, I guess that's one. But yeah, I remember like I was there and I was in the city and I just like I was don't go to 51st, don't go near 51st Street because there's police everywhere. Um,
Oh, so you were in the city yesterday, the
yeah,
day of it. Wow, that's insane. Yeah, I mean,
all the time. So it's
yeah. I
um
mean, listen, it's I'm just kind of looking really quickly on the ESPN thing. Just I know obviously Eric Adams, the mayor, put out a statement on social media about it. Do you see the thing, by the way? I mean, of course, we don't have to get the whole entire thing, but Skip Bayless said, I mean, just absolutely, just you
wait,
know,
wait, he tweeted about it. Hold on a second. Let me pull it up.
I don't
Wait,
know what the. I mean,
let me
his
see because I think let me see.
yeah,
Uh
it was messed up.
wait, this one he said, "Thank God the New York City shooter apparently took the wrong bank of elevators and didn't make it to the NFL floors." That one, he
Yeah.
reportedly he reportedly bizarrely blamed the NFL for what he believed to be his CTE, suffered from playing high school football. Oh, oh, I see. Who did he kill non NFL people? Is that what happened?
You're talking about the gunman?
Yeah. Did he like mistakenly kill because because I don't think there was anything wrong with what he said. Maybe I'm missing. Like I think he was just saying it's a good thing he didn't make it to the NFL floors, and
Um,
I don't know.
that I don't know. That's a good question.
I think Skip Bayless gets a lot of shit for saying things that really just aren't all that bad, and sometimes just like if it was anybody else, it wouldn't have been that big of a deal. Uh, okay, I guess I see the argument a little bit, which is that like, he's arguing he killed people who weren't working in the NFL. Like maybe that's why, but he killed a security. How many people did he? I know he shot a security guard, uh, and I think he injured like two other people. So I guess he thought he was going to the NFL headquarters. I understand what he's saying a little bit. I guess because I guess I understand what he's saying a little bit. But I guess if anything, he's more just saying like, "Oh, thank God he went into like he didn't end up shooting a whole. He didn't end up like shooting a whole bunch of people who worked at the NFL." But yeah, I understand the outrage. I understand it a little bit. It's kind of a weird like, yeah, I'm looking at the I'm looking at all the comments of people saying like, "Oh, he basically just said thank God he killed those other people." Uh, but I don't know. I don't think that's so much. Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
Skip doesn't have the best PR team.
So, this guy, the gunman's name was Shane Tumara. I'm pretty sure it looked like
Yeah.
investigators said he was a Las Vegas casino worker, carrying a handwritten note in his wallet that he claimed he suffered from chronic traumatic encephalopathy, which is known as CTE, and accused the league of it because, like you mentioned, Nick, about the brain things with contacted with sports. Um, and I think it was 4 to 5 people that you mentioned or whatever. So I mean, I just really just don't know specifically in terms of how he was able to brain, like I said before, brain the overall stuff inside the overall building, and then just they don't see it because of the amount of security that they typically usually have.
Yeah. He
So
opened
weird.
fire in the lobby. He proceeded towards the lobby's elevator bank. He shot a security guard who sought shelter behind a desk. In addition to another man who told the police he had also been shot in the lobby. Uh, so it doesn't. Okay, so he rode the elevator to the 33rd floor where the offices for the building's owner, Root and Management, are located. Uh, the commissioner said he began walking the floor, firing rounds as he traveled, and struck one of the victims who eventually died. Okay, so it looks like he killed a bunch of people on the wrong floor. That kind of sounds like what
Mm,
happened. I think Skip Bayless, if anything, probably just didn't like know that, or like thought just something really stupid. Like I
I mean,
would
I won't keep.
I would have no issue with that tweet if like the whole ride up the elevator never happened or
Mhm.
something like that, and he only killed people like in the lobby, because in that case it's like, oh, he didn't make it up to do the rest of his plan, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
But given like the what actually did happen, uh yeah, I'd say that's kind of an ill-advised tweet, even though I don't think he necessarily meant anything bad by it.
yeah.
uh it is like it, because I know that one of the security guards who was killed was an off-duty police officer. Um, it's because the details, like I thought, were seemed to be a little bit murky, but yeah, there's still a whole bunch of like live updates on it, and there's probably still a whole lot of like police presence in the area. I mean, the guy apparently suffered from CTE. I don't even know how we know that. You don't know that until somebody's dead. So I guess we already know that he suffered from CTE. I mean, he probably did if he shot up a building. But uh,
Yeah.
I mean, the bizarre thing is just that he blamed it all on the NFL. And by the way, like the NFL CTE thing is such an old story.
Mhm.
Like like that's so like 10 years ago. Like nobody's even talked about that for so long.
Yeah.
Uh, and I like apparently he had head injuries from playing football in high school. I mean, I guess that's possible. I certainly, I mean, he didn't even play at the college level. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, I played high school football, and I mean, we had my brother and I actually ended up getting concussion helmets, like pre-made helmets, because the amount of just contact that high schoolers get with concussions. Another thing too for me, I mean, it was my first time physically playing was until high school, so that was another reason. But concussions are massive. Probably I'd say football is probably the highest sport contact of where you suffer concussions. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah. He said that he suffered from CTE. Like, there's a good chance that he did, but I mean, like, uh, we don't necessarily even really know if he suffered from CTE. He could just be crazy and he just like thinks he suffered from CTE,
yeah,
associating with playing high school football. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how common it is for people to suffer from CTE when they only played in high school. Like NFL players played for so many years, and that's just repeated hits to the head from like the biggest and fastest athletes.
hmm
Like it's a little different than playing in high school. Uh, but none of us really know. Like none of us really know. I also don't know how much CTE affects like violence. Like, does it make you violent? Do we really know?
I think it might depend in terms of the type of condition for CTA because I feel like that there's more than one CTE condition. So I feel like there might be like I don't know in terms of how
Yeah.
treatable the type of condition is. I guess it's just a matter in terms of like if you have it, you kind of know how you have it and kind of how it's treated.
Yeah. Moving the goalposts is presented by Playback. Watching sports is more fun with others, but we spend too much time watching alone. Playback is a virtual space where communities can stream live sports together with everyone perfectly synced up. Creators can hop on stage, deliver their own play-by-play analysis and commentary, and invite viewers up for Q&A. Playback makes watching sports fully interactive and a social experience. From playing fantasy sports, rubbing your favorite players and teams, and watching with the commentators and communities you care about. We're going to lose sports are best enjoyed together. Join our community by going to playback.tv/ETB network to find out more, including our live stream schedule. And now back to the show. Some more football stuff. You hear all of these Nick Saban to the NFL rumors?
No, I mean, I haven't I've of course heard about it, right? Of course, he's been, he coached over with the Dolphins, when he was younger, but I haven't really seen much about him trying to go into the NFL now.
Well, Greg McElroy, I think it was Greg McElroy, said that sources that he trusts said that he's looking to go back into coaching and would coach in the NFL. And I'm not saying it's a guarantee that that's going to happen, and the sources may very well be correct, or they might even be wrong, and Greg McElroy may have good reason to believe those sources. But I do think that sounds like something that could happen. I mean, look, it can't be any look. Nick Saban going to the NFL can't be any crazier than Bill Belichick coaching UNC and having a 25-year-old girlfriend, and that being like the biggest story. like we kind of got used to it, but nothing in the world is more absurd than that. So I mean, like, if Bill Belichick can end up coaching a college like UNC, then Nick Saban can coach in the NFL. Like, it's not that crazy. And Nick Saban is 74 years old, I think.
I'll check for you.
I think he's right around the same age as Belichick. I think he's right around the 73.
73.
So he's 73 years old, and so I was close. And 73, he's a young 73. I think he's aged pretty well. And for a football coach, 73 is not that old. I mean, it's really just not that old anymore in general. But I think Nick Saban, ages fairly well. A lot of coaches win when they're in their 70s. You could probably even win when you're in your 80s if you age well enough. And to me, it wouldn't. I think that in my view, Nick Saban is more impressive of a head coach than Bill Belichick. I think Nick Saban is better as a college coach than Bill Belichick was as a head coach, as an NFL head coach. And I mean, the main reason is just how everything, and I'm not saying Bill Belichick is not arguably the greatest NFL head coach ever, but, Bill Belichick did have Tom Brady his entire his entire tenure with the Patriots, which is why he's considered to be the GOAT, or arguably considered to be the GOAT. I mean, in college, I think it's just different building a dynasty in college. In college, you have to recreate your roster every year, basically, or every few years. And to some degree, Bill Belichick, as the Patriots head coach, was like a college head coach, which is that he had GM type of powers. So in some ways, there are some similarities, but it's not quite the same. I mean, as a college head coach, your load is much bigger. Your role is much bigger. You have to do way more. You're not just a head coach, but you're also the GM and your head of recruiting, and then you have in every little thing you touch as a college head coach. So to me, Nick Saban, having the dynasty that he's had at Alabama and was able to continue it, I think I think Nick Saban is better as a college head coach than Belichick was as an NFL head coach. And I also think that Nick Saban has been written off as can't coach in the NFL, and that's just taken as a given. And I think unfairly it was. And I think Bill Belichick might be able to be a good college head coach, just from name recognition alone, because recruiting matters a whole lot. But I think that the transition for somebody like Nick Saban to the NFL would be better than the transition from Bill Belichick and the pros to college.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I do think, I think both of them are incredible coaches. I'm a bit biased. I think, between the two, I'm picking Belichick. Of course, I can understand in terms of your, you know, your opinion. Um, I will say, I do think, I don't know, I love Bill. He was, of course, the coach of my team for the, 20 years. Um, but I don't know specifically how great he's going to be as a college football coach. One, I don't know specifically what the 20 whatever year old girl that he has, how much of distraction. Clearly, it's already been a massive distraction, I feel like, to him. Um,
Yeah.
and he just kind of keep it under the, under the ground. Um, and it's his first year, in college. It's a transition. Yeah, it's the same game, and I think that he loves the game. Um, but I love Bill. I think that Bill, of course, is very good at pretty much everything. But I think one thing that you really need to do well in college, and that is recruit and the scout. And I think specifically Bill, when it came to drafting, he was very up and down when it came to that. So I'll be very curious to see the type of guys that Bill's going to have. Now, I know he, of course, brought his son Steve over to be part of the coaching staff. I do think he's trying to get a lot of the same type of staff members that he had with the Pats to maybe make the transition a little bit easier for him. But I do think that Saban, I think going to the NFL, I think that he's already had a little experience, of course, in the NFL before. I don't feel like with Bill, it's going to be an easy transition, I think, where other people might be expecting. Plus, there's another rumor out there that UNC might be going to the SEC, in a couple more
Yeah.
years. And if that's the case, I mean, you're talking about Belichick, as great as Bill is, he's going to a brand different type of stratosphere when it comes to college football. And you just need a lot of experience specifically. You can't, even the great one specific when it comes to, coaching or playing, you need to have more than at least 1 year of experience, no matter what type of field you're going to be in. So I do think when it comes to everything in terms of game planning, just the overall, ins and out, the X's and O's, I'm picking Bill. But if you're talking about specifically stuff in which scouting, recruitment, I got to go Saban because Saban built one of the best dynasties already in college football. And you look at what Bill specifically, as you talked about with Tom Brady, Bill specifically was able to pretty much just be himself specifically as a coach. But of course, when you saw Tom left, you had to have those, X's and O's and be able to draft a lot better and to kind of keep everything kind of taking afloat. And he just didn't happen to have that. So I think the higher expectation I feel like is going to be Bill, but I do think the easier transition is going to be Saban, if that makes sense.
Well, here's how I would put it, and I'm very much of the belief that okay, let's think of a baseball analogy here.
Okay.
I think I would compare Bill Belichick going from the NFL to college. My comparison there would be a left fielder moving to play center field. And I would compare Nick Saban uh, coaching college to be the opposite, going from center field to playing left field. Like, in other words,
Okay.
what I'm getting at is center field is more difficult than left field.
I
Like,
agree.
every center fielder can play left field, but
Hmm.
not every left fielder can play center field. At least not. I mean, they can, but just not as well. Because
That was my position. Was I played center field, so I know it pretty much from experience. At
right,
center
so as
field,
a center fielder, it's more like center fielders. They have to cover more ground. They have to have a better arm than left fielders do. So it's really just a more difficult version of it, or second base and shortstop in a sense. Like shortstops kind of have to be more skilled than second baseman, and every shortstop can play second base, but not every second baseman can play shortstop. I think it's a similar type of thing when you look at Bill Belichick, when not in every situation in the NFL compared to college, but when you're an NFL head coach with with a Hall of Fame quarterback or even just a franchise quarterback, that is way easier to succeed than being a head coach in college. Like, I think in general, coaching in college is harder than coaching in the NFL.
yeah, because in terms of transition, you just get a different group of people every single year. When you
Yeah.
take a look at with Belichick, right, with the Pats, you talk about the dynasty years. A lot of the same guys. Edelman, Gronkowski, obviously Tom, right? And defensively, you had McCory, you had Will Fork, you had just a group of those type of guys. When you're obviously in college, maybe it's only for 1 or 2 years. And in NFL, it's more like 4 plus, right? It just kind of depends in terms of how long they're going to be able to withstand, a long overall career in their game.
Yeah, well, think about it though. It's just like it's just like I said, in general, I think it's harder to coach in college than the NFL, but it's especially the case when you go from like having the best quarterback ever by my estimation, or at least arguably, to a small college like UNC, which has no real history of success in football.
Mhm.
Like, obviously, it's going to be a lot harder. And also, like, I don't. The other reason is that like I don't think Bill Belichick like keeps up with the times as well as Nick Saban does. I think Nick Saban is a fair bit more innovative. Now, I know he wanted out I guess you can argue that he wanted out with the whole NIL thing. Like NIL is
Yeah.
probably the biggest reason he left college. He's not coaching at Alabama anymore. Although I think a lot of that was him wanting out and not so much that he can't handle NIL. I think he didn't want to deal with NIL more,
Mhm.
more so than anything else. Now, NIL makes it harder for, I think NIL, one thing NIL did is that it made it worse for the SEC. I don't think it's a coincidence that the power is shifting more toward like more north of the Mason-Dixon line in college football than it previously was. Because what the NIL does is that before NIL, geography mattered more than money.
Yeah.
And the SEC schools, Alabama, Georgia, they have the geographic advantage. Like these schools in the Southeast, they all have the geographic advantage over, say, Ohio State, Michigan, Notre Dame, any of the schools, in mostly Big Ten schools. Although Notre Dame's not a Big Ten school, but you get the point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't come at me for that. I know, uh, but what NIL did though was it shifted the importance from geography to money. And the thing with SEC schools, these schools in the South, is that they have the geographic advantage, but they don't have the money. They don't have as much money as, say, Ohio State, Michigan. Whereas Ohio State and Michigan, they don't have the geographic advantages. They don't have as much talent in that region of the country as, say, Alabama, Georgia does, but they do have more money. They
Mhm.
do have more money. They have donor, graduates of Ohio State and Michigan tend to make more money than graduates of SEC schools, and they have donors that can spend more money. So that's part of the reason I think that NIL has sort of hurt SEC schools, and part of the reason why Nick Saban didn't Nick Saban wanted out because of NIL. Now, it's a little bit of a tangent, but a lot of people are like
Oh,
trotting
yeah.
out Nick Saban to like bash NIL. But like obviously that's stupid because he has such a vested interest in this because that's the reason he didn't want to deal with it and he couldn't be as dominant as he otherwise would be with NIL. So anyway, all of that being said, I still think Nick Saban is more innovative than Bill Belichick. I think that he will be able to adjust to the NFL more easily than Bill Belichick would to college. I think that depending on the situation, like it is possible for Nick Saban to be in a situation in the NFL. Like, let's say he was coaching the Jets. Like, okay, there's nothing you can do when your best quarterback is Justin Fields and then your next best quarterback is Tyrod Taylor. It's like
Yeah.
you could be in an impossible situation in the
Right.
NFL. That certainly could happen. But Nick Saban, I think, is more calculated. And I do think that he cares a lot about his legacy. And I think the fact that, like, he didn't do it at the highest level, people hold that against him. But people, like, he didn't do it at the highest level. People conflate that with he couldn't.
Mhm.
Didn't and couldn't are two different things. He
Yes.
was the head coach of the Dolphins for 3 years. Like people say, Nick Saban couldn't coach in the NFL. That is not true. I
Mhm.
think the ultimate what if question in the history of sports, or at least in the history of football, is what if Drew Brees had passed his physical? What if Drew Brees had passed his physical and he ended up the quarterback of the Dolphins? First of all, it's likely that the Patriots end up winning fewer titles under Brady and Belichick. That certainly is possible. And who knows? Maybe they would have been like another sort of dynasty, and the AFC East would have been like the SEC of the NFL between like the Dolphins and the Patriots, with Saban and Belichick in the same division. Like, who knows what would have happened? So, like,
insane.
And let me just like, and I did do this on Leftovers, but people often forget that like Bill Belichick was the head coach of the Browns. And how did that work?
Well, he was Giants. I don't remember if he was a assistant.
Yeah. Hold on a second. So, hold on a second. Yeah, people forget he was the head coach of the Browns. He was the head coach of the Browns, and Saban was only the head coach of the Dolphins for a couple of years, for 2 years. Sorry. So here's Nick Saban's record as Dolphins head coach: 15-17.
It's not even that bad.
Not even all that bad. Hold on a second. And here's Bill Belichick's record: 4 years with Cleveland. His record 4 years with Cleveland was 5 years with Cleveland was 36-44. So an even worse winning percentage over a span of 5 seasons, which was a bigger sample size than Nick Saban had as the Dolphins head coach, a much bigger sample size. So if Bill Belichick had, after coaching Cleveland, instead of coaching the Patriots, ended up coaching at college, Bill Belichick would have been written off as couldn't coach in the NFL. So how can you really say that about Nick Saban? Maybe Nick Saban could have been just as good of a head coach in the NFL as Bill Belichick, for all we know. We just don't know because we don't have a big enough sample size.
Exactly. Yep. No, it's like when you're judging a book by its cover. Like, you can't specifically, like, you can say, well, it was only 1 or 2 years. Like, my brother, for instance, was talking about, I mean, this is crossing a little bit of sports, but he was mentioning, well, Rafael Devers trade with the Sox, in terms of, well, the return that we're getting right now is doing okay. I mean, of course, Jordan Hicks, who we had, of course, unfortunately blow the game yesterday for us, but like, he's like, well, do you think after 1 year, like, we know about it? No, you have to at least give yourself at least a good 3 to 5 year sample size, and then maybe you can make a judgment, right? The exact same case here. It's like Nick Saban, right? We all, of course, know the accolades and stuff that he can make in college, but that doesn't preclude him from not being a good NFL coach. You can, of course, you have the experience there. And of course, if you have, give it a couple more years, right? You, of course, build an overall good type of roster, then you can use a lot of the stuff that you used from college in terms of just at least knowledge per se, and see what happens, right? The better case scenario is at least you try and kind of see what happens, and you have a pretty much good idea in terms of like, all right, well, it didn't work out. It happens for so many coaches out there. Some coaches are just better, specifically built for one or the other, and there are some specifically that do well in both. It's just kind of the matter in terms of like, I mean, heck, with Bill, right? Bill, I can see this blown up in his face in the next year or two, right? But I think he wants to get into it because boredom, honestly. Yeah. And he's getting up there in age.
It's an underrated thing.
And, well, technically speaking, I mean, I know the Shula record, I think, is a motivation also, but technically speaking, that can't be, I guess, because that's NFL record specifically, that can't be translated over from college, I guess, in a way. But, like, there is a motivation, I guess, for him. If there was a way specifically, he's like, well, I couldn't get to over on the Shula. Of course, I have everything else besides him, but like, I still, of course, want to be involved. And, I feel like if I can go out there and at least give this a shot. I mean, I remember so many people were saying at first, and I feel like still people are, like, Bill's going to, do college football now. Like, so many people are shocked, including myself. I thought once he pretty much was done, I mean, he didn't say specifically, I'm retired, like Tom said. Tom specifically at the second time said, I'm done. Like, don't come after me specifically of anything else specifically. I am done. Bill never really said that, and I feel like at some point that it will come for Bill. But I mean, look at Pete Carroll for a sec. Pete Carroll is one of the oldest coaches that are out there. He retired for a couple years and is back. It's so common, and I think just kind of drawing back to what we were talking about.
I think these guys just don't want to leave coaching.
That too, yeah, because I think when you love something for so long, it's like you kind of look back and it's like, well, now what? And it's like, well, I could do so many things else. I can go out. I can, play paddle ball. I could go and go for a walk. It probably just takes over time. You look back and you're like, you know, that was your first thing you wanted to do. You worked and you liked what you did, which is of course stuff that doesn't always work for people. So I think just overall, I think we have to kind of see if Saban wants to go back to coaching the NFL. I mean, go ahead for him. I think it'd be a really cool storyline. And these are the two best coaches, in our sport, I think specifically. So I think it just makes it a more fun storyline to kind of see if it happens to if Saban went into the NFL, kind of what the overall storylines would be.
Yeah, well, I think that the difference between athletes and coaches is that I think that athletes often go away. And I think that athletes just like after they retire, they often don't want to they often don't want to play anymore. Sometimes don't even want, they might go into broadcasting, but sometimes they might not even want to be involved in the game at all in some cases. I mean, we see this with tennis, with tennis players. I mean, Andre Agassi and Pete Sampras just completely disappeared from tennis.
Yeah, I mean, you don't hear these guys anymore, and it's probably because
Agassi was on a broadcast fairly recently, but it was many, many years after he retired, and Sampras is like never heard from at all. And same thing with some, like a lot of athletes end up like fit that description. Some of them go into broadcasting, but the truth is some of them become coaches, but most of them don't. But for some weird reason, I think coaches, they just never want to stop. Like they never want to retire, it seems like, at least the best coaches. And I think they just like the grind. And a lot of people sometimes would look at Nick Saban and think, well, he has all the money in the world. He's 73 years old. He can just ride off into the sunset and not do anything for the rest of his life. But I think that like the rest of us are not Nick Saban. Like we don't have the same mindset as him.
Oh yeah.
But there's a reason Nick Saban and Bill Belichick are who they are. It's because they're a little different and they're very ambitious. And it wouldn't surprise me, just like with like the greatest athletes, like would it really surprise me? Would it really surprise anybody if Nick Saban and Bill Belichick were like, okay, I was great at, my own level, the NFL, college, respectively. I want to be great at that other thing too. Like I want to prove, like, you don't think, especially Saban, like you don't think Nick Saban wants to prove that he can coach in the NFL as well? Like you don't think he wants to prove that for his own legacy? Like I think he very likely does. He very likely does. Now, he would have to be in a situation where, like, he has a decent quarterback and a team that he can actually win with. Like, Matt Rule was the head coach of the Panthers, and he just never really got a fair chance, even though he probably could coach in the NFL. So that certainly could be the case. But, like, yeah, like you don't think Saban is like, oh yeah, I want to prove to everybody that I can actually coach at the next level? He absolutely does. And the truth is, he has nothing to lose.
Exactly.
He doesn't need to lose at all. Like even if he doesn't go do a good job in the NFL, who cares? Like it's not like he had success. Like it's not going to hurt him. It's not going to hurt him at all. Same thing with Belichick, by the way. Like, is it really like if it turns out that he's not a good coach in college? Is it really going to hurt his legacy that much? Like maybe in the eyes of some people, but like I don't think it would.
No, it wouldn't. I think honestly, to be fair, it makes it even better the fact that they're trying this as an opportunity because heck, if they're able to succeed at this, I just think it makes the storylines even more exciting. And Bill, I mean, I think that if he was able to take a team like UNC, which by the way, like you're mentioning, does not have a massive when you think about UNC, you think about basketball. You don't really think about football.
Right.
They're putting UNC football their first game against TCU on Monday Night Football, it's not because of the overall team, it's because of Belichick, right?
Right.
So he's still, even though the fact that he's not with a dynasty type of team that like he used to be, just the overall name, when you have a certain type of name, specifically in the sports world, and they remember you. I mean, Bill is one of the top guys that they, of course, will remember. There's so many people that aren't even sports fans that when you talk about, you know, Bill Belichick, yeah, I know Bill Belichick. You know, the guy specifically that's dating that 21 or whatever type of year old. Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah, that guy. Yeah. Who happens to be one of the best coaches out there. So the two names specifically are so, you know, striking that, like you're saying, like it's not going to affect them or kill them per se. Like, say if Tom specifically went to the Bucks, right? Did I hit? Did I was I sad for him to leave? Of course I was, because of course he was a guy specifically that I expected him to be with the team for the remainder of his career. However, what it was cool because Tom was able to go to a different team, a team that was complete poverty, to be honest, in the Bucks, and to take them in the first or second year to the Super Bowl at their own stadium to make it even better. And then it's like, wow, it's like, you know, people are trying to prove, oh, this is all about the system. It was Tom, it was Bill, and you could, of course, you could have, you know, I could talk about it for, you know, endless of hours, right, in terms of which one's which, because of course, as a fan, but like, no matter what, specifically in terms of how you believe it, it's the names that are the striking part of it, and they're specifically going to have, they're going to make the money, right? So they're, of course, they're not going to lose the money specifically. Heck, if they happen to be bad in it. So yeah, I mean, go for it. And heck, I think if you happen to, if Bill's able to have like a, even I don't know how many games college has. I think it's what 15, 16,
No, it's like 12.
12. Yeah.
Well, that doesn't include bowl games or playoff games. So if
Okay.
you include bowl games, probably if you include a bowl game, it's like 13, but
Yeah.
regular season is 12.
Okay. So like even if he had like 8 to 9 wins, like you would say, okay, that's great. Even if he was a 500 type of coach, honestly, like unless like completely, you know, the team was complete ass, which of course I don't really know like the ins and outs of UNC football, so don't come to me specifically about it. However, I will hopefully get the chance to kind of watch more because of Bill. You know, I'm not going to turn into a UNC football fan per se. I mean, maybe I'll just, of course, kind of pull for them to kind of see hopefully they do well. Um, but no, I at the end of the day, 100% agree with you. I just think
Yeah.
specifically, there's no like, you know, oh, like he has to go prove something now because he has not won anything. No, two of these guys specifically are two of the greatest coaches out there, two of the greatest minds out there in football, and they're trying an opportunity. It's like when you're out in a job and you're great for a place for so long. It's like, well, I'm not leaving specifically because I don't want to. It's the opportunity that I got, and they're deciding to get this opportunity. They're going for it, and heck, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But I do think that if it does work out, it'll be a great cherry on top for the remainder of their career.
Well, UNC last season, including the bowl, they went 6-7 and went 6-6 in the regular season. So the expectations
Oh,
would be
not
a little higher. I mean, the truth is, in college, going 500 is a lot worse than going 500 in the NFL because you always, in the ACC and SEC, you play 4 non-conference games, and at least 3 of those are like, you know, are like really, are like, how would I like, you know, like almost guaranteed wins. Like if you look at some of the teams that these SEC and ACC schools play, especially in like November, it's like schools you otherwise haven't heard of. Like they
oh
sound made up.
yeah,
You're like, what is this? You're like, what
that's
is?
like why week 0 and week 1 are some of the funniest matchups that you'll see in college football because you'll just never hear about these schools the rest of the season. It's like Weber State is playing Ohio State.
Yeah,
It's like
Weber State is actually how it's pronounced. And
Weber State.
yeah, well, like Mercer, like how many years in a row has Alabama played Mercer the
Oh
week
my
before Thanksgiving? Like right before the Iron Bowl? Like it's such a joke when that happens.
For people that actually like go and buy a ticket to a game like that, it's either like it's a senior day, you're a student there, because like if it's just a certain type of fan, you're like Alabama, I'm going all the way down to Alabama to go see them play a D3 school. Like
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, of course you're gonna know for a fact they're gonna win the game. Like, I guess that's cool. But like in terms of just entertainment standpoint, like would I rather go see a primetime game with Alabama playing LSU, or I'd rather go to a 12 p.m. game, kickoff game, where yeah, they're gonna whoop them probably like 60-20 or something. But like, I don't know. It's
Well,
just
the thing with college football, look, college football is my favorite sport. I think college football is the best sport out there. But I will say, like,
parody.
well, there's the thing with college football, and it's a little bit true with the NFL too, but not nearly to the same degree, is that there's a whole lot of bad games that are on. But what makes college football great is that there's so many games going on at once. It really doesn't matter if some of the games are bad. It's the same thing with the NFL. It's like, at the 1 o'clock, it's a problem with 4 o'clock because there's far fewer games, but like 1 o'clock, there's so many games on at once. Some of them are going to be snooze fest, but there's enough of them to the point where some of them are going to be really good. And it's the same thing with college. It's like there's always a lot of really good games and a lot of really bad games. But like there's so many of them on it at once that it really just doesn't matter. Like,
And betting too. I
yeah,
think betting maybe because I know you're a lot more like the betting guy, specifically
yeah.
than I am. But do you feel like in terms of betting lines, right? When in terms of a massive spread, it's a lot more successful to get that massive spread right in college than it is in NFL.
You're saying
Maybe
easy. Well, you mean as a better, you think it's
like in terms of it hitting. Say it's like a we of course we had on Football Forecast last year. We had like the 20-point spreads with like the Ravens against the Texans or whatever. I obviously don't remember the overall type of exact matchup. And you have that right, the 20-point spread compared to like Ohio State taking against Weber State, right? You have a better like your chances of at least hitting that more to cover, right, is probably with a D1 school over a D3 type of school, right?
yeah. Well, no, I wouldn't say like people talk about how it's easier to bet some sports more than others, and that just isn't true. It feels that way, but it's not true
Mhm.
because it all evens out. I mean, it doesn't even really make any sense because if it would be easier to bet something, then by definition, the other side would have to be harder.
That's
So,
true.
in other words, it's like betting basketball is hard because anything can happen at any moment. There's a couple of threes late in the game, like in the NBA, when there's like 3, 4 point spreads. But in
Especially if it's a
reality,
blowout too.
so
Hmm.
it's easier to lose if you're winning. But the flip side is that it's also easier to win when you're losing. So it all evens out. Same thing in the like in football, it all even like it's harder to win when you're losing. It's harder to lose when you're winning in football, but it's also harder to win when you're losing. So that's kind of how it is with betting, and it all kind of evens out. I bet college more than the NFL personally, but it's not necessarily easier. I would say it
Well,
really
I guess I probably should have said probably maybe earlier on in the season when it gets kind of closer on like mid to the end point of the season, you have a lot more of the ranked type of teams. That's a lot tougher. That's kind of more of like a pick 'em type of thing.
yeah.
I probably should have rewarded it kind of a lot better.
No, no, I understand what you're like. That is a common viewpoint that people have. I'm just saying, like, when you think it through, it
Yeah,
doesn't make a lot of sense because, like, well, that would also apply to the other side of the bet that you're making.
yeah,
Uh, and it all evens out. Like, all of it evens out. There's always going to be a slight edge to the house. There are no like they're really just like I wouldn't say any one thing is easier to bet than the other. And even if it were, well, you wouldn't get odds as good. Like if that really were true, Vegas would adjust for it, and you wouldn't be able to make as much money off of it. So all of that really just is how it works.
yeah.
Speaking of gambling, Emmanuel Clase was placed on leave. Now there's a lot of these stories coming out, and it all from what I've read, it seems like it was just based on like suspicious betting patterns on some of his pitches. Um,
Yeah, I can kind
now,
of say
I don't know all the details of this. He's not even like being punished, at least not yet. Um, I mean, I think my issue with some of these stories is that like it seems like my issue with some of these stories is that like what if these athletes really just did nothing wrong and it may have just looked kind of suspicious, like their reputations may just never recover, and I do want to be fair to him, because it doesn't really, because it was just based on like suspicious betting patterns. But don't you think, like, couldn't that have been anybody who did that? Like, why is it like, how does it really point to him specifically?
So that's a good question. I mean, I'm questioning myself about it. I will say there was some some viral pitches that he had. I don't remember the exact percentage, but like Clase is one of the best strike throws in the game, and there were a couple like first pitches of like the top of the ninth inning, in which there was one that was really eye popping, in which he practically like spiked it, like specifically one of the pitches that he had. Like I could show you right now, but yeah, I mean, something with Cleveland. Cade Smith, who was the setup man, people were like joking, like, "Oh, we bet it on the because they played the Rockies, one of the worst teams last night." And Cade Smith is just completely automatic, like in the setup in the setup role, and he gave up like 4 runs in the top of the ninth yesterday. After the news happened, so people are joking the matter of, "Oh, did he do the same thing?" Yeah, we don't know, right? But yeah, no, I don't really like I don't know how the MLB can physically tell about like this in general. I mean, I guess like he's going to be on administrative leave until the 31st, still about a month. But like how do they know? Like I guess it's just the viral type of pitches that happened in the past and
Don't you think though they could have done that with any pitcher though? Like I bet you could do. I bet that you could probably take some pitches that Edwin Diaz has thrown and said, "Oh, look at this! It looks like he's like this is a terrible pitch." I mean,
yeah,
same thing with hitters. How many times have you seen hitters like swing at things, like really good hitters to swing at things like in the dirt and things like that?
that's
Like
it.
it's not that absurd to me.
I'm shocked that they're doing it like right now, prioritizing more pitchers than not hitters. Like it's all so far with like I know it's only a couple people so far, but like you have an idea potentially of like maybe like some hitters might be having this too, like because technically speaking, heck, think about it. Like it's 4-3. You're down on the bottom of the ninth, and it's a full count, right? So you have a chance specifically to walk, or you have a hit to win the game, and you strike out to end the game practically on the person's batter's box, right?
Yeah,
Technically speaking, like you can be a little sketchy, be like, hey, like I bet that other team to win, so I specifically swung at the pitch where it wasn't even close, where I should have been able to walk tie the game, and instead I swung at a pitch not even close to me. So like, yeah, I agree with you. Like how I guess it has to be like certain like data or something because like you just how do they know? Like because it could happen to like anyone.
yeah. Well, a similar type of thing happened with like Terry Rozier earlier
Yeah.
this year. And it was a similar type of thing. Like they were showing like highlights of him, like what looked like, or low lights really, well, of what looked like him like throwing certain, like throwing the game. But it's like I don't know. Like ultimately, none of us really know. And there seems to be a lot more of these cases coming out now. I don't like in this case. Like I said, it was unusual activity. I don't know all the details. I'll have to look into it a little more, and maybe I'll understand it a little better. Uh, but like I said, couldn't anybody have been like? Couldn't that unusual activity have been coming from anybody? Like, doesn't necessarily point to him. It's hard to say. Now, people are saying like people are equating or like associating this with like gambling being legal and above ground and all that stuff. But ultimately, I think a lot of this stuff probably happened beforehand, but you just never caught them. Right?
Yeah.
Like you probably just like when gambling was completely underground and athletes were throwing games, athletes were betting on their own sport, it was a lot harder to catch them.
Hmm.
So like now, I guess it's kind of good that you're at least able to catch them in cases like this where it does happen.
Yeah. I still don't know like how they do catch them though because like it's
Well,
ironic.
it's a lot easier with betting apps. They
Yeah.
track everything. It's like cell phone towers. Like it's
Mhm.
not the same thing as if it's underground. It's all
Yeah.
technology.
Well, I find it so ironic that the two guys so far have been by the same team. Um, so I mean, I guess they might be able to start to kind of take a look and maybe just see if there's other guys from that same team that are doing it. I don't know, right? That is very ironic that Clase, who was one of the best pitchers in the game, who by the way was going to get traded in a couple days, instead is on this situation where he's going to be placed on leave. And yeah, just such a weird story.
Yeah. So I do want to talk some more football. The Jets signed Nick Folk.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know Nick Folk was still in the league. He's been around
forever.
forever.
Titans last year,
40 years old.
Yeah, I liked him with my Pats for I think like it was a 1 or 2 year stretch, but yeah, I mean, heck, the Jets. I remember they had awful, but it was at Zerline you guys had for a couple of years, and he was a complete disaster. The Jets have had a kicker problem for a while now, so I feel like with the Jets, if they're not going to score a lot, I feel like they will move the ball, like they've had in the past years. Yeah. Right. At least for my end, when you guys play us, hopefully this year that you guys will be kicking more field goals and scoring more touchdowns. But I will say, if that is the case, Folk is a very, very good kicker. I mean, when of course he's a veteran, so of course he's been with a couple teams. And with Justin Fields, of course, this story too. The way that they made it out to be, Nick, was he was done for the year in terms of a lot of the tweets and stuff.
Yeah.
You have to put something out. And I'm like, my goodness. And of course, like in terms of diagnostic, like I was praying and stuff, like he was okay. It's like, well, he twisted something.
Yeah, I remember like my phone blew up when.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, like Justin Fields is going to he's on cart too.
Here's the thing though. Here's the weird thing though. Think about it for a second. Does it really change the season that much? Like, even if Justin Fields doesn't get injured at all in this season, there's a strong possibility Tyrod Taylor ends up the starter at some point anyway. Like it might not even make, like, Tyrod Taylor might be a better option than Justin Fields. Like, I don't even think, obviously, I don't wish injuries on anybody, but, like, it's not that crazy of a thing that could happen.
Yeah, I agree with you. Maybe it was the year that they had Aaron Rodgers. Maybe that's another thing, right? Because, of course, unfortunately, when he went down, it's like, well, you had Zach Wilson, you had other quarterbacks that completely changed the trajectory. I think in this case specifically, it's great that, of course, he's okay. I think that he really wants to kind of prove the doubters wrong because he's been in different type of situations where he hasn't had always a fair shot. So I do think that it's good that he's back, especially too, like the injuries and stuff that you see in camp right before not even the first preseason game. It's brutal. I mean, of course, we just seen it left and right so far. The Cowboys left tackle, I think, is going to be out for a little while. It's bad to have injuries, but like it's bad to have injuries like right before, the preseason and stuff start.
Yeah. All right. Finally, here's Jimmy Haslam talking about Arch Manning. Here, I mean, it is a little weird because we're like a year away from it, but here's what he had to say about Arch Manning.
Family, I would bet that, and I don't know Arch at all, okay? I bet he stays in college 2 years, so I don't even think that's worth discussing. So.
Yeah, so here's the thing. It may be true, given with this NIL era, that he might want to stay in college longer because it might be more profitable for him, and he might not be. We don't know exactly how good. It depends on how good of a season he has. Like if he's NFL ready and he's going to be the first pick in the draft, he'd be crazy not to go to the NFL. It's also certainly possible that the Browns are just going to be like the Browns might just be too good. Like, don't you think it's possible that I mean, like the Browns might just be too good of a team. Like there's probably a whole bunch of teams that are going to be a lot worse. They might not be able to get him unless they trade up for him, but that's it.
Yeah, no, I think the worst team this year is going to be the Giants, or they'll be up there. But I think the Browns are going to not.
You think the Giants are going to be the worst team? You think the Giants are going to be worse than the Jets?
I don't know.
They at least have Russell Wilson. They at least have a decent quarterback this year. Mainly the quarterback situation. Like I think that the Giants.
I don't know about their line though. That's the thing. Always like every year with the Giants, it's always I worry about is their offensive line.
Yeah, no, that's always going to be an issue. It's going to be an issue with the Jets too. Yeah. I think the Titans will be worse than the Browns. I think a lot of teams will be worse than the Browns. I mean, the other thing,
that's a good one. Yeah, they're still a massive free for all.
and by the way, like as ridiculous as it is that the Browns have 6 quarterbacks, I mean, if you have 6 quarterbacks, it's hard to be the absolute worst team. It's hard to be the best, but it's hard to be like the absolute worst team because, if something goes wrong, you can like just switch to another guy and something might work.
It's full of Joe Flacco. So, I mean, Joe Flacco.
Flacco is good. Like Joe Flacco for his age is actually good.
Yeah, no, he tends to like now be like just that journeyman quarterback that's like somebody goes down, I'm just going to come in and ball the fuck out, which is crazy.
Well, I mean, look, Arch Manning has to play a full season. We don't know what he's going to do, but I think his career is just promising. And it's not because of his last name either. Like, it looks like he's a great player. And unlike his uncles, he can actually run. He's actually mobile.
I think he's going to be great too. I really like him so far with Texas. And I do think that this year he's going to have another great year for them.
Yeah, now with I think Texas will be an even better team with Arch Manning than with Quinn Ewers.
I agree.
Oh, by the way, this last story. You see Marcus Morris was accused of stealing from Las Vegas casinos. This is like a real version of Ocean's 11.
Yeah, I heard about it. I don't really just know the whole backstory. I just kind of a quick glimpse of what it was about, but that was besides it.
Well, all I can tell you is that if you're going to, the last 2 places you can steal from are banks and casinos.
Especially in Vegas.
You will not you will lose every single time. So, and apparently he's accused of stealing $265,000 from Las Vegas casinos.
Oh my God. That's insanity.
What an idiot.
He'll probably be in jail for the remainder of his life.
Yeah, well, like, I mean, look, casinos have better security than the White House does. Like, you are not going to get away with that. So, yeah, if there's anything I can tell you, it's don't steal from casinos. All right, that's our show this week. I'll be back next week. I'm Nick DiMartino. That's Ben Kruse. You can follow me on Twitter at Nick DiMart, Ben at Ben Kruse144, and this podcast at MTGPETB, and across social media and the Empty the Bench Network at ETB Network. See you then.